Hello and welcome to this introductory demo of pdf2Data by Apryse. Let's get right to it. Let's log into the pdf2Data template manager and editor. The first thing we need to do here is create a new template. We'll give our template a new name. Call it invoice template. We could certainly give it a description here. Now the next step is to select what we call a reference file or a reference PDF. So pdf2Data extracts data from PDFs. You can do a predefined blueprint invoice, if you will. Let's go ahead and select something from my local machine here. I have a sample reference invoice. Let's go ahead and open that. Let's go ahead and create the template. Okay, as you can see on the right, pdf2Data has rendered this invoice. And it has all the typical things you may find on an invoice: ship to address, the payment details, description of the line items, and a total. What we're going to do is create new fields here. I'm going to click New Data Field. The first thing I'd like to grab from this is the actual invoice number. So I'll just select that here. We'll give this field a name, invoice number. And let me introduce a term that we call selectors. These are the working horses, if you will, of pdf2Data. They're very powerful, and they assist the template builder in identifying what data is important to be extracted from PDF documents. And as you can see, we go alphabetically here from barcodes, physical positions known as boundary, fonts, dates, integers, pages, paragraphs, tables, prices, and also these selectors can be pipelined, if you will. Output of one can be input for another. So a whole lot of power here that lies within these selectors. So for this particular invoice number, I am going to choose what we call a pattern finder. So the actual data, as you can see, it's DT, bunch of zeros and 31. So that's not an integer, it's not a price, that's text. I'm going to add a limiter here. I'm going to add a prefix. And as you can see in the invoice, the actual prefix is invoice space number colon. And I'll go ahead and add that as a prefix. We'll click create. And there you can see the result is our DT000031, and we've just successfully defined our first field. Okay, for our second field, I'd like to pick the shipping address. So as in what we've done before, I'm picking create a new data field, and I'm going to select the text that is important for me for this particular effort. We'll give this new data field a name. I'll call this ship to address. And this time I'm going to add a selector. Let me introduce the boundary selector. That's a physical location on a PDF document. So this is set by a boundary. The next thing is, because each page has that particular boundary, I'm going to limit this to the first page, page 1, the one we're looking at. And then lastly, I'm going to add another selector. This is an example of pipelining. This selector will be one called paragraph. And I don't want the text to all run together. Let's click create. And as you can see the result down on the lower left, this is exactly what I need to have extracted. And we've now just created our second field. Let's go ahead back. So 2 fields, let's pick a few more. Notice there's a table here. So I can select the table itself. So pretty much put your selector anywhere in the table. We'll give this a field name, call it line item table. The selector itself will be table. And I'm just going to have pdf2Data automatically detect everything. If I needed to tell it what the headers are, I can certainly do that by unselecting this. And I could give it help, but let's go ahead and create this and we'll see what it extracts. Or it's going to extract 4 rows and 5 columns. If you actually want to see that data, you can see it here. The 4 rows, including the headers, you could see straightforward, and then the each of the table elements there. So that's how you do a table. Let's pick a couple more fields here. Maybe you would like to grab the grand total or the final total there. So you can see it here at 1851.10. I'll go ahead and select that one. We'll give this a field name. Call it our grand total. The selector I'm going to use for this one, looks like that has a pattern in front of it. So let's go ahead and use the pattern finder again. Notice that this particular piece of data, we can say it's a price. And I'm going to add a limiter for this, just in like we did before. Notice that there's the words total including tax in front of it. So if I put parentheses, like INCL period tax, I'll add that as a prefix. We'll create it. And there you can see the result is our 1,851.10. And last but not least, if we scroll down the document a bit, notice there's a barcode here. So I can select that for extraction as well, just to show you the power of this. And we'll call this our QR code. The selector we'd like to use is a barcode. And a whole variety of barcode types that we can contend with. We'll choose QR here, click create, and down below you can see the result is a URL that's embedded in that QR code. Okay, so those are the 5 fields that are important to us for extraction from pdf2Data. Let's go on to the next step. All right, now that we've selected 5 data fields, let's save this template. And I want to show you, I'm going to simulate production. So here we can see the invoice on the left. These are our data fields that we've defined together in this demonstration. I could save a new version of this. Maybe this is version number 1 from scratch or whatever. So not for this demonstration, but full control over revisions and versions of templates, and that'll be left for another video. Let's go ahead and save this. Okay, so built right into the editor is a way to test your template, and we'll do that now. So, all right, we know what the template is. It's called invoice template. We know the fields that we define, and let's go ahead and select the file that we use to create it. So here, this reference invoice now is being used as an input document. And right now we're simulating production, and we've just had our first run. We've had these 5 fields with these values, and what we can do is download these results as either XML with metadata or JSON with metadata. Let's pick the JSON format for this particular demonstration. That downloaded to my local instance here. And when I click on this, my default editor for JSON is Visual Studio Code. And this is the output from that extraction. Notice here we have our grand total, which was 1851.10. We have our invoice number, if you recall, was DT00031. We have our line item table that has the columnar headings, followed by all of the rows with the particular data contained in there. We get down to our QR code and the actual text that we extracted from that, and then our ship to address with lines between them. So this concludes this demonstration of pdf2Data, a way to simply extract data from important PDFs without coding.